You've been taught to look outward for power. But Thoth whispered through time that the kingdom you seek is not found in the noise of the world, but in the silent chamber of your mind. Long ago, before cities rose and empires fell, before the ticking of modern clocks and the hum of neon dreams, there was a simple truth known to the sages of sand and stars: all is mind. This is the first Hermetic principle. Mentalism, the seed from which all other truths unfold. The universe is not something outside of you, but something of you. The stars do not merely shine above, they shimmer within your awareness. The world you walk through each day is not fixed or final. It is a dream molded by thought, colored by belief, and animated by your attention. And yet you were taught to chase shadows, to grasp, to strive to fix the mirror instead of the face it reflects. We try to rearrange the outer world like shifting sand on a windy shore, wondering why the peace never stays, why the joy seems fleeting, why fulfillment always lives one more achievement away. But the mirror cannot smile until you smile. To awaken to this law is to remember your own sovereignty. It is to pause and notice how your thoughts ripple into your body, how your body moves through the world, and how the world responds in kind. When you wake up angry, the day bristles. When you lead with love, the air softens. This is not poetry, it is physics. The quantum field is alive, responsive, dancing to the music of your awareness. It does not judge, it reflects. In the Hermetic sense, the mind is not just the organ in your skull. It is the boundless field of being in which the stars turn, where symbols dream themselves into shape, where form follows the invitation of intention. Every idea you hold, every belief you accept, becomes a blueprint, every fear a mold, every hope a prayer. So let us ask, what inner weather are you forecasting? The invitation is not to think positively as a plaster over pain, but to become intimate with the roots of your inner narrative. Do you see yourself as the victim of life or the artist of experience? When trouble arises, do you collapse into judgment or expand into curiosity? When you feel lack, do you seek more things or more presence? Imagine this. A woman walks through her day repeating, "I never have enough time." She feels hurried, breathless, burdened. Time slips through her fingers like water. But what she doesn't realize is that the loop begins not in her calendar, but in her mind. Her story is a spell, a frequency, and like a tuning fork, her reality aligns with its tone. Now, imagine she changes the inner rhythm. She begins to affirm, "I move in harmony with time." She breathes before she begins. She walks slower. She listens. And time, as if by magic, begins to soften around her. Appointments flow, traffic parts. She finds moments she never noticed before, hidden in the folds of stillness. The outer world has not changed, but she has, and that changed everything. This is the art of conscious creation. This is mentalism at play. So the practice is simple, though not always easy. Begin each day by asking, what thoughts am I planting today? What inner images am I feeding? Observe the mirror, not with judgment, but with wonder. And if what you see outside does not reflect your heart's deepest truth, change the picture within. You are not a puppet of fate, but the playwright, the set designer, the actor, the stage, and even the light by which the scene is seen. In this quiet realization, ancient and eternal, your power returns. Or, to walk the path of the alchemist is not to escape duality, but to dance within it, knowing that every shadow is cast by light, and every sorrow holds the whisper of joy. The second Hermetic law, the principle of polarity, teaches that all things exist in relationship, hot and cold, dark and light, stillness and motion. Not as enemies, but as siblings of the same essence, separated only by degrees. We live in a world addicted to extremes. We are taught to label, divide, and cling to pleasure, to certainty, to one side of the scale, forgetting that all opposites are in truth part of a single whole. Cold becomes warm, fear becomes courage, hate becomes love if given enough grace and time. The secret is not to resist one pole and chase the other, but to understand their relationship, to rise above the illusion of separation. Picture a pendulum swinging. The further it arcs to the right, the further it will swing to the left. Life follows this rhythm not as punishment, but as a promise of balance. If you have known deep sorrow, it is only because you are capable of deep joy. If you have felt lost in darkness, it is because a light within you burns fiercely, waiting to be found. But when we identify with one pole, we become rigid. We resist change. We suffer not because of the swing, but because we try to stop the pendulum mid-air. We say, I will only accept happiness, never pain. Only certainty, never doubt. And in this resistance, we become brittle, disconnected from the truth that all things must move, must breathe, must transform. A man, for example, who is terrified of appearing weak, may armor himself in anger. But beneath that armor, sensitivity waits to be seen not as weakness, but as sacred strength. His rage is a mask, and polarity reveals it. The heat he fears is the same fire that can illuminate his soul. So how do we apply this? We begin by witnessing. When discomfort arises, we do not flee or judge. We become curious. What is the opposite of this feeling? What truth is trying to balance itself through this moment? If I am anxious, what peace is waiting to be claimed? If I am jealous, what desire have I buried beneath shame? Polarity is not a punishment. It is a guide, a map, a gentle tug reminding you that you are always in motion, always evolving. Try this when you feel tension, name its opposite. Speak it aloud. This fear is showing me my desire for safety. This judgment is pointing to a deeper need for love. In doing so, you begin to reclaim the middle path, not in apathy, but in mastery. You become the still point in the swing, the eye in the storm, the axis through which extremes harmonize. This is where transformation occurs, not by banishing the shadow, but by blessing it. Not by pretending the night is not dark, but by learning to see the stars within it. The alchemist does not run from pain, nor does she cling to pleasure. She sees both as colors on the same brush, painting the canvas of becoming. In your everyday life, polarity shows up in subtle ways. The conversation you avoid may be the doorway to intimacy. The job you hate might be teaching you to remember your worth. Even the person who triggers you the most is often the mirror reflecting an unloved part of your own being. So let yourself soften. Let the world be both beautiful and broken. Let your heart hold both joy and grief without collapsing. The deeper truth is this: you are not either or. You are both and more. You are the witness beyond the swing, the sky holding both storm and sun. And in that realization, you become free. There is a pulse beneath all things. Listen closely, and you may feel it. The silent drumbeat that guides the oceans, spins the stars, and cradles the breath in your chest. This is the third Hermetic law, the principle of rhythm. It teaches that all life moves in cycles and nothing stands still. What rises will fall. What falls will rise. This is not a curse, but a sacred cadence. But we have forgotten how to listen. Modern life moves at the speed of ambition. We rush to bloom before we root, harvest before we plant. We curse the winter seasons of our lives as though they are failures rather than necessary rests. Yet the seed does not fight the dark. It trusts the rhythm. It waits. In the ancient temples, sages watched the moon. They measured breath and tied menstruation and migration. They knew that everything had its time, a time to speak and a time to be still, a time to act and a time to surrender. There was no shame in rest, no fear in endings, because they understood what we must remember, now that even death is but a breath in the chest of the cosmos. So where are you in your rhythm? Are you in a spring filled with ideas and longing to bloom? Or perhaps you are in a winter where things fall away and silence deepens. Can you honor that without judgment? Can you resist the pull to always be productive, always be bright? Many of us suffer, not because life is cruel, but because we resist its natural ebb and flow. We think happiness must be constant energy, unending love, always passionate. But no wave stays at its peak. No breath is only an inhale. The beauty is in the motion. Think of your own life. That heartbreak that once shattered you. What wisdom did it plant? The job you lost. What path did it open? The depression that felt like drowning. What part of you emerged reborn? Rhythm teaches us to trust the invisible. When we feel stuck, we are often just in between beats. When nothing seems to move, it is because something deeper is shifting beneath the surface. The universe does not rush, and neither must you. To apply this in daily life is to become attuned to timing. Rather than forcing, we learn to feel. When to speak our truth and when to listen. When to act boldly and when to rest in stillness. When to push forward and when to simply breathe and let things unfold. There is magic in waiting, in slowing down, in aligning with the deeper rhythm that guides all things. Try observing the cycles around you. Track the moon. Notice your energy throughout the month. Create rituals that honor your inner tides. Rest when your body calls for it. Create when inspiration flows. Just as the Hermetic axiom reminds us, everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. You are no exception. You are the tide itself, drawn by moons you may not yet see. And so instead of asking, "How can I control this?" ask, what is life asking of me in this moment? Am I being called to rise, to fall, to listen, to leap? And if I can trust that rhythm, even when I do not understand it, what kind of peace would that bring? The alchemist does not resist the seasons. She partners with them. She dances with rhythm, as with an old friend, and through that trust, she becomes timeless. Let the pendulum swing. Let the breath rise and fall. Let the moment be what it is, and you will move not against time, but with it gracefully, gently, like a feather on the breath of the eternal. Beneath words, beneath thought, beneath even the silent stillness of prayer, there is movement. Subtle, invisible, eternal. This is the fourth Hermetic law, the principle of vibration. It tells us that nothing rests. Everything, your body, your thoughts, your memories, your hopes, is in motion. Even stillness hums. Even silence sings. In the quantum realm, scientists tell us what mystics have always known. There is no such thing as true emptiness. All is energy dancing at varying speeds. A thought is not just a flicker in your brain. It is a frequency that echoes into form. Emotion is energy in motion, vibrating your entire field of being. The world you see is a chorus of waves collapsing into matter through the focus of observation. What you call you is not fixed, it is a song, a note in the great symphony of existence. And here's the most radiant truth: you can change your song. You've done it before. When grief gripped your chest like iron, and yet a single piece of music brought tears and release. When someone entered a room, and you could feel their presence before they spoke a word. When you walked in nature and felt your whole being soften. These were not coincidences. They were reminders of the language beyond logic, the language of vibration. The Kybalion says, to change your mood or mental state, change your vibration. This is spiritual alchemy in its most immediate form. Not repression, not denial, but transformation by resonance. So how does one raise their vibration in daily life? Not through constant effort or empty affirmations, but through subtle alignment. Begin with awareness. Notice what lowers your field: certain thoughts, foods, environments, conversations. Not to judge them, but to learn. What does heaviness feel like in your body? What colors does your energy wear when you are tired, resentful, uncentered? Then with gentleness, explore what uplifts, what awakens your presence, your warmth, your breath. It might be laughter, or stillness, or dancing barefoot in the kitchen while your favorite song plays. It might be choosing silence over proving your point, or blessing your meal with intention before you eat. Even the simplest things carry frequency. The way you speak to yourself, the quality of your attention, the gratitude you feel when sipping water. You are a tuning fork, always in conversation with the world. You attract not what you want, but what you are. If your inner note is anxious, you will draw more chaos. If your inner note is trust, you will begin to magnetize grace. This is not superstition. It is resonance. It is why, like minds find each other, why certain homes feel sacred, why healing can happen without words. Let us go deeper still. Vibration connects you to the divine, not through hierarchy, but through harmony. You are not reaching upward to some distant god, you are remembering your place in the choir. And the more attuned you become to your own frequency, the more clearly you can hear the melody of others. You begin to feel compassion, not because it is moral, but because you recognize their pain as a dissonant chord in the symphony you share. You don't have to be perfect to vibrate higher. You simply need to become more honest, more aligned, more in tune with your truth. Even sadness, when expressed with tenderness, can be of high vibration. It is the resistance, the suppression, the false mask of okayness that creates distortion. So ask yourself, as a daily practice, what am I broadcasting? What song does my presence sing? And remember, vibration is not fixed. You can change your note at any time, through breath, through thought, through love. This is the hidden art of the sages, to speak not just with words, but with frequency. To walk into a room and uplift without effort. To be a lighthouse, not by striving, but by simply staying lit. When you master vibration, you begin to shape reality, not with force, but with frequency. The world does not need your control. It responds to your resonance. So vibrate with beauty, with integrity, with truth, and the universe will tune itself to meet you there, somewhere within you, behind the layers of habit and history, beyond the echo of doubt and the ache of old stories. There lives an ancient figure, the alchemist, not cloaked in myth, not locked away in books of gold and mercury, but pulsing quietly in the deepest recess of your being. This part of you does not fear change. It is change. It watches, waits, and remembers how to transmute what is heavy into light, what is broken into whole, what is mundane into sacred. This is the final Hermetic art, not merely to understand the laws, but to become them. To live in such alignment with the unseen that the visible world bends and blooms before you. To step beyond reaction and into mastery. The alchemist is not a magician in the common sense. She does not escape life, she refines it. She touches pain and makes it holy. She holds disappointment like raw ore and extracts from it the gleam of wisdom. She does not suppress the shadow, she integrates it. For she knows that within every fear is the seed of courage, within every loss, the pearl of presence. The principle of cause and effect, another sacred law, tells us that nothing happens by chance. All events flow from deeper currents. To awaken as the alchemist is to stop blaming and begin choosing. Not in the shallow sense of positive thinking, but from a place of radical authorship. What if your circumstances are not obstacles, but invitations? What if the confusion in your career, the longing in your heart, the ache in your body are all coded messages asking not for escape, but for attention? This shift from victim to creator is the sacred fire of transmutation. It begins with presence. When life squeezes you, slow down. Breathe into your body. Ask, what part of me is being called to grow here? Not, why is this happening to me? But what is this offering me? The true alchemist works with what is. She doesn't wait for the world to become ideal. She takes the raw material of the moment, the irritation, the grief, the delay, and turns it inward into fuel for awakening. Consider a simple example. A man tired of his loneliness begins to blame the world. People are cold, dating is broken, love is dead. But then one morning he sits in silence. He asks not for a partner, but for clarity. In that stillness, he sees a pattern he hides. He avoids vulnerability. He seeks perfection to avoid pain. And in that moment of truth, something shifts. He writes a letter to himself. He walks outside and smiles at a stranger. It is small, but it is alchemy. He has turned shadow into gold. Or imagine a mother overwhelmed by life. She feels invisible, stretched, tired. One night, instead of collapsing into distraction, she lights a candle. She breathes. She writes 3 sentences of gratitude, not forced, but real. She thanks her body. She forgives her tiredness. And as the wax melts beside her, something inside softens. She remembers she is sacred. She is the temple. And this moment, though messy, is holy. Alchemy does not require perfect conditions. It requires attention. It is not about grand rituals, but micro miracles, a choice to love yourself when it's hardest to stay present, when you want to run, to speak truth, when silence would be easier. To awaken the inner alchemist is to live by design, not default. To become an artist of energy, a weaver of light, a keeper of your own flame. All the Hermetic principles come to life. In this moment, you recognize the world as mind. Mentalism. See your inner world mirrored outward. Correspondence. Flow with cycles. Rhythm. Embrace contrast. Polarity. Shift frequency. Vibration. Take authorship. Cause and effect. And finally rise through the levels of consciousness. Gender. The uniting of active and receptive within. This is the alchemical journey, and you are already on it. The gold is not somewhere else. It is you remembered. So now, beloved traveler on the inner path, the teachings have been sung, not as commands, but as echoes, ancient truths remembered in modern breath. The Hermetic laws are not relics of a forgotten age. They are living currents in your everyday life, in the way you think, in the way you feel, in the way you choose. You are the mirror and the light, the rhythm and the rest, the vibration and the vessel. Nothing is separate. As above, so below. As within, so without. You are not broken, you are becoming. And with each conscious moment, each sacred pause, each breath offered with intention, you shift the axis of your universe. So, ask yourself tonight, what will I now create with this knowing? What gold have I uncovered within my own heart? May you walk softly with power. May your life become the temple. May your words become blessings. And may the alchemist within you rise, not to escape the world, but to illuminate it. If these words stirred something ancient in you, share your reflections below. Let us gather in remembrance. Let us weave this light together.